Today I want to talk about setbacks. Life is like that, where you have a plan and you have a goal. And during the way, what happens is things come, crop up, things occur which become a barrier or a hindrance to you achieving the goal that you set out to achieve. Whenever this happens in life, so there's not going to be any chapters in this, there's not going to be free ways to overcome barriers or setbacks or anything. It's just really my personal take on what you do when you're facing the inevitable, because it is inevitable. We're all going to face setbacks, we're all going to face barriers. So this is just my take and my experience on what you do in those situations and in those circumstances. So what I would say is always keep an eye on your objective. For instance, recently I had a fitness goal. I was in a 90-day transformation challenge where you essentially transform your body from fat to fit, or from fat to muscle. You do something called a body recomposition, where you lose fat and you gain muscle at the same time. So I was in this fitness challenge. It's a 60 days summer sculpt with a company called Pro Physique. Now, along the way, life happens. So my wife, in this instance, love my wife so much. She's very supportive and she helps me in all my endeavors. And all of the things I want to do in life, they're only possible because of my wife. She's my inspiration. She's my steer. She's my guide. I love my wife. However, many times the people we love, they require things of us. They expect us to help them in areas of their life. And, we're happy to help. Helping others makes us feel good, especially my wife. Of course, I feel good when I help my wife. So she had a very big wardrobe. And that wardrobe, to cut a very sort of long story short, as the proverb, as the aphorism says, that wardrobe needed to go, and it was heavy, it was huge, so it needed to be deconstructed, disassembled, and then the new wardrobe had to be built. Obviously, all of this sounds small, but it's actually in reality a massive, major undertaking, physical undertaking. And I was just about to start a physical transformation challenge. So the old wardrobe, taking that apart, bringing it all downstairs, all the rest of it, lots of jarring and jerking and shimmying and all the rest of it. The next wardrobe, not just construction of the wardrobe, but where you had to take the wardrobe parts from downstairs, up the stairs, all of the boxes. It doesn't come in one box, that would be too heavy. We're talking 30 kilograms, 40 kilograms per box. So in that instance, where I have to do this physical, I don't have to, but where I choose to help my wife, because I don't want my wife to do it all by herself, I know in taking, the physical work, that there's going to be lots of maneuvers and maneuvering and physical actions that I have to take. Now, during the course of doing these heavy sort of manual labor, manually intensive physical actions, I've pulled my back the day before I start, or was due to start, I should say, the transformation challenge, the 60-day summer sculpt. Now, in that instance, what you can do is you can give up. Everybody feels like, oh, well, it wasn't meant to be, or, this has happened, and they look for an excuse. They look for a way out when facing the inevitable challenges that we face in life. They look for a way out. They look for an excuse. And what I would say to you is don't do that. Essentially, don't do what others do. They give up. All you need to do is persevere. Find a way to persevere. I can't show you my ankle at the moment. I could lift it up into the camera and you'd see I have an ankle support on my ankle. At the time, after the wardrobe was made and all the heavy boxes were lifted and moved and the wardrobe was moved into place and all of these things which caused the injury, which caused me to be on crutches at the time, all of these things were a hindrance, and they were an obstacle and they were a barrier. Although my decision, and it's your personal decision, and this is a good note to take, if you're taking pens and maybe in your phone, maybe on paper, I would always suggest that you put pens on paper. It soaks into your subconsciousness, and you are able to better achieve your objectives when you put your objectives down onto paper. But I would say to you, in the instance where you have to make a decision, the decision is to continue. The decision that you should make is to persevere, to be determined to, yes, there's an obstacle, because everybody's going to have obstacles. I don't know if any of you have heard Jim Rohn, but I would suggest that you type in Jim Rohn into YouTube. The man is just an amazing motivational inspiration. So Jim Rohn says it's not the circumstances that determine the outcome. It's not the circumstances that determine whether or not you're successful. To be successful, you have to have an objective, and then if you achieve the objective, you're successful. It's not the circumstances. It's the decisions that you make when facing the circumstances, because you will have the same circumstances as many people. Many people will have, in my case, they'll be on immobilized, they'll be on crutches, or they'll have some impairment which stops them doing the physical challenge which they were about to do. Many people will face that challenge. I faced that challenge, that obstacle. Now, some people in that circumstance, their decision is a conscious decision. Nobody has a gun to your head to force you to give up. Nobody says to you that you have to quit. It's a conscious personal decision that you yourself will make if you give up or if you persevere, if you quit or if you continue. That's a personal decision, your decision. Now, many people will quit. They'll look for a way out. They'll look for an excuse. Many of these life challenges that we design for ourselves, these goals that we set for ourselves, when they're a high goal, they're going to be hard to achieve. We wouldn't have a goal that's easy and feel good at the end, because it was an easy goal to achieve. Like if I say, today I'm going to, wake up and brush my teeth. This is a remedial goal. This is a very basic and rudimentary goal. After I brush my teeth, if that was my goal, I'm not going to feel like, a major sense of achievement, because the goal was so low. The objective, the bar that I'd set for myself to just merely wake up and brush my teeth, that was a very low objective. So the loftier the objective, then the more satisfaction you're going to feel after achieving the objective. So the decisions you make when facing a barrier to achieve a lofty objective, the decisions you make to persevere, the decisions you make to continue, those are going to be the decisions that see you come out on top. Those are going to be the decisions that see you become successful, as opposed to being unsuccessful. Unsuccessful simply means you had a goal and you didn't achieve the goal. Successful is the reverse of that. To be successful in achieving your objective, and some of these objectives can be major, some of them can just be everyday objectives, like go to bed slightly earlier, read before bed instead of going on your phone before bed, brush your teeth before bed. It sounds rudimentary, but many people don't do that, and then they wake up and maybe they have sore throat, or they can't do things in the morning because they're not feeling too well because they didn't brush their teeth before they go to sleep. So maybe it's a minor health lifestyle objective like brushing your teeth before you go to sleep. Maybe it's a self-development objective. I'm going to read a book a week. Wonderful objective. Read a book a week. I think it's Bill Gates who says, read. It's the key to being successful. All of them, you'll find that they just read. They're avid readers. They're learners. They soak in information. So maybe you want to do that too, A key would be to read before you go to sleep. I'm not sure on the statistic. I can maybe research the statistic and then put it into a comment. But a lot of people now, before they go to sleep, what do? They scroll. They go on their phone, they scroll. Now, scrolling, I'm not saying it doesn't have its place in life. Many times, especially from an analytical stance, scrolling is wonderful. It's going to help you. It's going to be that buffer, that zone between sort of ignorance and learning, ignorance and knowledge. Scrolling will be that buffer zone between the two sometimes. Between confidence and arrogance, sometimes there's a line. Same way in learning, and scrolling can help you get there. For instance, if you type in how do I communicate better, and then Google's going to give you so many choices to choose from, so you have to scroll, and in scrolling you're going to find the information that you need. So it has its place. But in our culture, again, I'm not entirely certain of the statistic. In our culture, we do it way too much. They call it doom scrolling. There you go, air quotations, doom scrolling. So anyway, instead of doom scrolling, it's essentially, when I'm saying doom scrolling, at the end of the day, you're just winding down, so to speak. You don't really have an objective. Like I just said to you before, I type into YouTube, for instance, examples of good communication, and then I scroll to find those examples. Well, that's not doom scrolling. That is productive scrolling. I'm trying to enhance myself, develop myself. At the end of the day, you don't have that objective. You just aimlessly look at whatever, YouTube or Google showing you, and you just scroll to find something that catches your eye or to entertain yourself in a light-hearted way. Now, Yes, that's wonderful. But is that the best thing you could be doing with your time before you go to sleep? Possibly not. Possibly you could be reading before you go to sleep, reading a book, reading a chapter, reading a few chapters. And that could be your objective. Pretty lofty objective. Most people aren't doing that. Just reading every single day for an hour a day. That's going to put you out on top. That's going to surpass your knowledge past the rest of the people in your field, because they're not doing that. They're not waking up early to read. They're not reading before they go to bed. Most people, 9 out of 10 people, aren't doing that. So that could be your objective, and that's a lofty objective. And I would say to you, upon successfully completing that objective, you've read the book a week for a year. So that's 52 books that you've read in that year. You're going to feel wonderful. You're going to feel wonderful. Your sense of accomplishment and your sense of achievement is going to be very high 4 or 5 books in, So 5 weeks in and you've read 5 books. You're going to feel wonderful. It's a lofty achievement. The accumulation of the information, also the learning, the knowledge, the acquirement of extra knowledge. And then you yourself have set that objective to read a book a week. Now, many things can crop up. Many things can crop up in the pursuit of your objective. If you, for instance, you want to read a book a week, but maybe your budget's not permitting you to buy a hardback a week, or a book a week, even if it's just a few pounds. They say there's at the moment there's this thing called the crisis of living and the price of life crisis, so to speak. So maybe you can't afford to buy a book a week. What I would say to you, is that really a barrier? Are you going to give up because you can't afford to buy a physical book a week? Or are you going to find the information a different way? For instance, go onto Google, type in whatever the book is, PDF, get a free PDF and just read it. The PDF. You don't need the physical book. Yes, it'll be wonderful to have a library of physical books at the end, that sense of achievement. And you can look at the library and these are all the books that you've read. That's wonderful and that's amazing. But maybe you're not there yet. Maybe you have to say, that's going to cost to have all these books. That's going to cost X sum of money. And at this time, I don't have that X sum of money. That's a barrier. Money is often a barrier. Let's be honest. We want to travel the world, for instance. Money's the barrier. In this case, talking about books. Money's the barrier. Get the PDFs, because the objective really isn't just to look at these books and say, oh, these books look wonderful on these shelves. The objective is to take, the extraction of the information in those books and soak the information in your mind so that you can readily apply the information to your everyday life. Whether it's communication skills, whether it's improving your physical fitness, whether it's nutritional understanding, whatever the key information that you're trying to learn, the information is the key, not the presentation and the front cover. I know on YouTube the thumbnail is crucial, but really the thumbnail is just a doorway, an enticing doorway to entice you into the information. The information, what I'm saying to you now, these words that I'm conveying to you now, this is the crucial information, not my thumbnail. And a book is the same way. The front cover of a book, it is just to entice you. It's candy, so to speak, eye candy. The information inside, that's the substantial nutritional value that you'd get from, a well constructed plate of food. So essentially in this, and there was no 3 keys, 5 keys, 7 keys. I do those videos also, so please subscribe to my channel if you're looking for, in this case, it's motivational, talking head vlog videos. Please subscribe to my channel. I make more videos like this, and if you subscribe, you won't miss any of the videos that I make. Also, if you've liked and you've seen this far into me, again, I'm Sean. This is Real Talk with Sean. It's a new channel for me. Please comment. I respond to all of my comments. Obviously, it's a new channel. There's not too many comments at this stage, but I could have 1,000 comments. I personally will take, that will be an objective of mine to respond to every single comment, because I want to speak to people. I want to, comment is invited and it's good for the channel, but it's also good for me to engage with people who are engaging with my content. An obstacle of that, for instance, could be, it's so many comments. I don't have that obstacle at the moment, but it could be at the stage where my channel has grown. I don't have necessarily the time to answer 1,000 people. Well, my philosophy would be make time. It's a little bit of a sort of mafia way to look at things. Make time. And I would make time. I would say, I want to respond to these people in the comments, so I'm going to make time. And it could be, I was going to watch a show or a movie or go to the cinema or something, and I would say, you know what, speaking to my viewers, speaking to my audience is going to be more beneficial for me personally. I'm going to be helping them, but it's going to be more beneficial for me personally to see where my viewers and my audience are at. So I'm going to make time, and I'm going to make time by cancelling time that I was going to apply to somewhere else. Something trivial, something like going to the movies. My wife's not going to like that, for instance. But she'll like it in the long term, that I've helped as many people as I've helped. And obviously in helping others and serving others, you serve yourself. So definitely, the decisions you make when facing a hindrance, the decisions you make when facing an obstacle, the decisions you make when facing a hurdle to achieve your a hurdle to achieve your objectives, the decisions you make. Nobody forces you to make a bad decision. You make a bad decision. So many people are in this blame game. They blame everybody else for their circumstances. I have people like that in my family. You probably have people like that in your family. I have a member of my family who's dreadfully obese. She's massively overweight, drastically overweight. And you know what? She blames everybody else but herself. Everybody else but herself for the bad, poor decisions she has made. She blames everybody else. It's never her fault. She texts me and she says, do you feel like you've done nothing wrong? This is her way of saying anything that's wrong with her life, I'm responsible. And of course, I'm not responsible for her decisions. Major key to achieving all of the wonderful dreams and aspirations that you have in life is you have to take responsibility for your life. Many times people, when they're successful, you ask them, how did you achieve that? How did you get the job interview? Or how did you get the promotion? They'll readily and very speedily tell you it was them. They did it. They achieved the promotion. The wonderful achievements in their life, they're responsible for them. But their failings, anything that they failed at, anything that they've done not so well at, you ask them who's responsible. They'll tell you everybody else is responsible. Their brother, their mother, the system. The fact it was raining, if they're a salesperson, they couldn't go out. It was raining, they couldn't go out. And of course, there's another salesman. They went out at the same time when it was raining, and they did well. They made sales. All the other salesmen were at home. Again, that's a joke from Jim Rohn. Excellent source of information. If you don't know who Jim Rohn is, just type it into Google. I've said it twice in this video, and I say it again. Jim Rohn, that man literally changed my life. Probably changed so many people's life. Rest in peace, Jim Rohn, and thank you for the inspiration. Just a fountainhead, a wellspring of motivational information, just incredible character. This video isn't to eulogize Jim Rohn, but I'm going to wrap this video up. There's going to be another video that I'll go into here. I'm talking to you now in this camera, and this is public speaking. If you want to know more about public speaking, so maybe you could make YouTube videos like this, then I suggest that you watch this video here, another video from myself on public speaking.